And we are back with another episode of From the Rafters. Sam and I are here recording on Thursday, May 12th, after a brutal loss to the Milwaukee Bucks, in Game 5. The Celtics leading for most of the game up into the fourth quarter. Then they obviously let it slip. It was an ugly loss. We were going to record last night. Sam texted me about midway through the third, maybe before halftime. He was like, if they win, I'll have the energy to do this. But if they lose, I won't be recording because I work at 4 a.m. And obviously, I did not talk to Sam last night. So this will be
Yeah,
coming out.
yeah. I mean, listen, if they win, I'm juiced up. We do the show, I go to bed, I wake up, I'm still juiced up. They lose, we do the show, I wake up, I'm miserable. I mean, I can't justify not sleeping if they lose. So here we are. It's Thursday afternoon. I am very exhausted as is because I couldn't get to sleep, really. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
I had a sweet spot for about I don't know, 10 minutes, and I was almost there, and then I don't know, my phone vibrate, something got me out of it. And then I really started thinking about the game, and I was wired for another 45 minutes. It was really bad. And then I woke up today at 3:30, and I said, I half thought I dreamt, but that happened. You said, you opened the show, you said this is a bad loss. This may be the worst loss. The worst loss of all the losses. This might have been the worst. Because not only did you lose the game in disaster class fashion, but it's one of the important games. This is probably
the most important game so far.
I mean, besides the Game 7.
So far, yes.
Yeah. I mean, that is a disaster. And people all over today are miserable about all kinds of different things. Number one, I see it when we could start with this because it's definitely a topic, is Marcus. People are very upset with Marcus. They think he's terrible. He blew the game. Now, Marcus was not good down the stretch. You cannot dispute that. I'm the biggest Marcus guy. He was not good. He wasn't good. He turned the ball over twice. I personally don't have a problem with the shot he took. I mean, listen, Holiday just kind of helped. He had a lane to the basket.
Holiday made a phenomenal play.
Yeah.
That was a great play.
Which is annoying in itself for all kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But he kind of made the right read. Holiday came out of nowhere and helped. He had a good lane to the basket. It was a broken play and he tried to make the most of it. Fine. You want to be mad. You think he played hero ball, whatever. But literally all the things people are complaining about, the rebound, the second turnover, which to me is it was the final nail in the coffin, but I'm not convinced that we're getting anything out of that anyways.
Well, the only thing on that play is he had Tatum.
But also, let's not act like there's no other defenders on the floor.
No.
There's people between him and Tatum. There's no guarantee that gets through.
Of course, if he had his head up, though, that's a pass Marcus could make. It is what it is. At that point, it's all hindsight. The point is, it shouldn't have gotten to that. It should never have gotten to the point where that was
you want to complain that he turned it over with a minute left. He turned the last possession over. He got blocked. The rebound. You can complain about all of that, but Marcus played a pretty good game besides the last minutes. Doesn't discount anything.
So did the Celtics.
But the whole team contributed to that loss.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the guys that were on the floor. Except for probably Horford. I mean, he was actually pretty good.
It felt like a quiet game for Horford, but that's probably just because he was coming off a 30-point.
His involvement was not there, but that's not really his fault. It's just whatever.
Yes.
He wasn't selling. He wasn't missing a bunch of shots.
He sold in the last minute. I'll say that. He did.
What did he do? He fouled him?
He didn't set the screen. He didn't.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, there you go.
He wasn't watching the inbound, and so everybody
contributed to the loss, and it should have never got to that point. You're up 14 in the fourth quarter. That's embarrassing, man. This is stuff of November. This is the Chicago game all over again. Absolute meltdown. You're at home. The place is going bananas. It was extremely loud. We had a text, and I was I guess I'm thinking to myself, all right, we're gonna record after this. The clock's just gonna go out. And then they start getting Connaughton, by the way. You have to credit him. He makes every big shot he takes.
I tweeted, I said, Connaughton's my sleep paralysis demon. He's just on another level.
So he comes out, makes a three, and everyone else decides they want to make threes. and the game gets close. But
And
the
I'll say
Celtics could
this.
not get a stop. They could
Yes.
not get a rebound. That is the
Yes.
biggest thing. And I know you talked about it, but I've been complaining about this all year. This has been one of the things that's bothered them all year. When they were really blowing games, it would always start with an offensive rebound. Just look, let's talk about Philly the day like Cantor had to guard Embiid and they still almost won. They had a 7-point lead with like very little time left, and Philly mounted a comeback right off an offensive rebound. Milwaukee in that fourth quarter yesterday, offensive rebound after offensive rebound. There was one possession they had 4 chances. You can't do that in a playoff game.
Yep. Yeah, I was losing. And before we keep going and keep complaining and I'll say analyzing, and that'll be a kind way to put it. I'll take the green glasses off for a second. Say I might not like it, but credit Milwaukee. I mean, they played phenomenal. They did everything you're supposed to do in a playoff game. Drew Holiday made great plays down the stretch. They hit their shots, which is important, right? Obviously, something the Celtics couldn't do. They went 6 for 6 from 3 in the fourth quarter. Giannis made a big 3, which was annoying. And Sam didn't hear me say that, so he would have gotten mad if he heard me say it. It's Giannis 3. The Giannis 3.
Well, that's ridiculous in itself. But you have to listen. I mean, he made the shot. Like, you have to credit him.
Do you know why he made the shot?
Why?
It was off an offensive rebound.
Well, there you go. It's ridiculous.
Every single player outside of George Hill that touched the floor for Milwaukee had an offensive rebound that game. Every player outside of George Hill. It's just unacceptable.
That's unacceptable. And it's literally an effort thing. And what better way to lose the game than offensive rebound? Like, you can complain about Marcus the last 2 possessions getting blocked and then losing the ball. It should have never even mattered.
I don't know how him and Jalen didn't grab that ball, man.
And people want to pin that all on Marcus. It's both of them. I mean, they both have mouths. They can communicate. I mean, he's equal to blame, but it's just a disaster. That should never happen. You had a golden opportunity to really put pressure on Milwaukee in a game 6 where you would have just won 2 in a row. Had you hold on, you would have really had a dominant win. Like, that was a pretty, like, I'm always on eggshells watching games, but I mean, I still was yesterday.
I felt good though going into the fourth,
and I felt good. I was like, okay, like they seem to be like firmly in control of this. Like, couple good minutes of play, and Milwaukee will wave the white flag, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah,
like they just couldn't get stops, and to me, that's the main thing. We can get into the offense, which was also a disaster in the fourth quarter, but really, if you're up 14 points in the fourth quarter, you kind of only need to do one. You either need to keep scoring or you need to get stops. You don't really need to do both.
They did neither was the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a tall task, and they could not get a stop for the life of them. And I think to me, that's more frustrating than offense.
They got plenty of stops. Then they just gave up an offensive rebound after the stop, and so it wasn't a stop anymore. No, and it wasn't a stop anymore. You got the stop, and then you made it so it wasn't a stop because you can't grab a rebound. I complained about the rebounding for the entirety of last podcast, for the entirety of the pregame show leading up to this. Hell, I wrote a whole article about how Brook Lopez is probably the biggest issue, and then it wasn't even Brook Lopez who was the issue.
There watching.
It was Bobby Portis. And
it was Giannis.
It was all of them. Bobby Portis had 7 offensive rebounds. He had 7. He had more than the entire Celtics roster. That can't happen. And I don't want to like say in fairness because there's no defense for that. Some of the offensive rebounds, yes, were ridiculous. Like bounced out all the way to the 3-point line and Milwaukee picked it up. There's only so much you can do about those. But when you add on the fact that you're not grabbing the rebounds in the paint because they're just jumping over you, that's unacceptable. And Daniel Tice played well for the most part that game. He can't jump. He can't be a rebounding option for a playoff team, right? And this is, again, it's not me complaining about Tice because for the most part he played really well in game 5. So shout out Tice, but
I don't really think Tice should get much blame at all. He didn't play in the second half.
He doesn't. My point is he
didn't play in the second half, and
my point is he just can't jump. Yeah, I know. It's just.
Yeah, but he got rebounds when he was out there. He didn't have to jump. He just boxed guys out.
You got to have, at that point, you got to have a team rebound. And I would say you'd really miss Rob, but Rob really wasn't doing much to help the rebounding.
I'll tell you what,
in the other games either.
It's not an excuse because they won the other day without Rob, so they really didn't need him in that game, and they were dominating that game without Rob. But if Rob played in that game, they close those possessions. They create extra possessions themselves.
I refuse to use injuries as an excuse for this.
It's not. I literally said it's
because
I know you just won without him. You don't need him.
My point is, I refuse to even bring it up because Milwaukee's without Middleton. So I don't even want to make that like argument because they're also
that's a whole nother element. That's embarrassing in itself.
Yeah, and again, this isn't like me taking things away from the Bucks because again, they did what a
That's
championship
more
team
on
is
the
supposed to
Bucks.
do. Yeah, so shout out the Bucks for playing great. Shout out the Celtics for completely collapsing and doing everything that the 2020-2021 Celtics would do in a heartbeat because that's what we saw. We saw everything that we saw at the beginning of January, we saw in December, we saw in November, October, all the way back to last season when they were blowing leads to the Pelicans. It's just unacceptable basketball, right? They took 0 threes in the fourth quarter. And I know a lot of people were complaining about the amount of threes they're taking, but you can't go from making it a crucial part of your offense to just not doing it in general. Like, I'm sorry. And I know this is very
I'm not
backwards.
sure I have a problem with
No, no, no.
that.
This is a very backwards take, I know. But if you're going from taking a bunch of threes to just not taking them, like Grant Williams, and I'll call him out, you can't not take threes, Grant. He doesn't even look to shoot anymore. He just looks to drive the closeout. Like that's not you can't do that because then you're just taking away something for the Bucks
Mm,
to think about.
I think I think he
Every
needs
time he
to
got an
find his
open three,
confidence again. But I mean, he dribbled it off his foot once or twice. But
every
really,
time he caught the
him
ball on the 3-point
driving the
line.
closeout is not a problem.
It was last night because he wasn't shooting. He only looked to drive the closeout. I'll go back and I'll find all the plays Grant either turned the ball over or didn't take a three. And half of them were open threes. He waited like 2 seconds for Lopez to inch towards him and then he just drove. And as much as I love Grant, that's not his role.
We
You
can
can do
stick on Grant. He needs to be better
he does. He needs to stop.
because
He's doing too
he
much. He's doing
he
too much.
seems to have lost his confidence shooting the ball, which is not good. And he is a crucial part of their game. Him being able to shoot makes it more difficult on
Mhm.
Milwaukee. Like you're saying, maybe he's driving too much, even though I mean I thought he was okay at that. He was bad yesterday. Grant did not have a good game, but I thought him driving led to some good things.
I agree. It leads to good things. You're correct. It's just he can't do it every time. He does it too much now, and it's to the detriment of the team because he's not taking the open looks that he needs to take. I'll look through and try to find some, but like it's just he just loses the ball. Like he loses possession. He dribbles off his foot, like you said. It's just you can't be doing that stuff, especially in a playoff game. So Grant needs to calm down. He needs to play his role better. Dare I say he needs to stand in the corner a little bit more. And that's not me trying to pile onto Grant because I love Grant. It's just he's doing too much right now. Jason Tatum also played pretty poorly, if I do say so myself.
Down the
Another
stretch,
kind of
yeah.
dud game. I
I
mean,
think I think he took too
brutal.
many threes early. I think in the second half he played a lot better until the closing minutes. He
Uh,
had a good
his first
start to the
half was
fourth
brutal.
quarter.
He
That's
played
what I
fine
said.
in the second. Oh,
That's what I
okay.
said. He took too
I
many
thought you were
threes in the
saying
first half.
okay, okay, yes.
He seemed like he was
Yes.
forcing, but in the second half he was much more aggressive. And then towards the end he started taking like tough shots and it didn't make any
My thing
sense.
is though, he took 0 shots in the last 3 minutes of the game. That can't happen. 0. 0 shot attempts in the last or no, sorry. He took 1 shot attempt in the last 3 minutes, and it was that turnaround like fall away fader on Giannis from the
Yeah.
mid-range. That was the only shot he attempted in the last 3 minutes of a 2-point
And that
game.
was bad.
That can't happen. That like and I know the final play was for Tatum and it got blown up because him and Horford were standing around unaware, which also can't happen. Like that's
Yeah.
unexcusable. But I don't understand how you're like failing to draw up plays for Jason Tatum in those final minutes. And this isn't me, everyone deserves blame. So Udoka deserves some of the blame as well. But this isn't me like pointing at him as the main catalyst as like the issue. But Jason's got to be more aggressive. They've got to find moves for him. I don't know how many shots Jalen took in the final moments. It was just
Not
the whole
enough.
offense. The whole offense in the fourth quarter was a mess. It was a
That's
mess.
another problem. Jalen was red hot, and then they kind of didn't involve him anymore. Like he carried the
Yeah.
team in the third quarter. He was like untouchable. He was making everything. He missed like one heat check shot at the end, and then he just kind of wasn't involved anymore. Which is partly on him, partly on everybody else, partly on the coach. But I just can't see how you can let that happen. You have a guy that's on fire. I'm not convinced he should have came out of the game, and I think he kind of hinted at that in the post game. Not
I
sure if he
didn't hear
did.
that. I believe you, but I didn't
I,
hear it.
I think he said like I don't know. He wished he played more minutes, something like that.
Mhm.
But that hurt him. They needed baskets down the stretch, and they couldn't get anything going. They looked like the early season Celtics. The way it was just the ball was sticking, which I think was kind of by design not that they were doing that particular offense on purpose, but
I
they
need to watch the
wanted.
whole fourth quarter again. It was
Yeah,
honestly, if I'm
I
being
would never
honest,
do that to myself, but
it was a blur because like I you just watch the Bucks make everything and watch the Celtics kind of fumble their way. Like it felt like every basket the Celtics made was like them grasping for air, if that makes sense.
everything was tough, and they made it tough
Mhm,
because their primary goals seemed to be taking time off the clock, which
mhm,
at the time I was like, all right, like this should be okay, and it wasn't. Because Milwaukee really was on, like they went 6 of 6 from three. Giannis made a three. Like Holiday made a three.
mhm.
It's just it's a perfect storm of things that had to go wrong for them to lose that game. But that's a kick in the balls, man. Like you have an opportunity to be firmly in control of
Mhm.
the series, and now you have to go out to Milwaukee and win to even have a chance. Which
Yeah.
if you want to be done talking about last night's game and moving forward, which I'm not sure if you want to, but if you want to be positive as a fan and feel okay,
I don't know if I'm ready to be
they
positive.
they played 2 good games in
Mhm.
Milwaukee, and the
They
Celtics have
did.
been excellent on the road for the second half of the season. I think their point differential is like 7.5, something like that. Don't get me wrong, Milwaukee is going to come to play. It's a closeout game in front of their
They will.
fans that cream in their pants for a 6-game series win. They love the Bucks in 6. It's their favorite
Jesus.
thing. But
Hey, and you know what? I'll say this. This isn't what you want to hear. It's not what Celtics fans want to hear. There's a chance the Bucks just roll the Celtics in Milwaukee. Like, I'm not gonna put that out of possibility. Personally, I think the Celtics will win game 6 because I don't think they'll let themselves lose again, and if you look at the way the series has gone, it's win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, you know what
yes,
I'm saying? Like, it's one each, and each team is fighting, but if this is the Celtics of 2021, which they showed in the final whatever seconds of the game, like, I don't wanna say they'll roll over, but I've heard that take, and when I heard the take, I wasn't like, "Oh, that's blasphemous," because it's believable based on how they played at the
well,
beginning of the season, but
after
it's yeah.
yesterday, watching the game, so I have now had however long to like sit on this and think about what happened and calm down a little bit. I mean, last night I was not to be like if we did a show last night after the game, like if I didn't work early this morning,
I bet.
I would have been like speaking nonsense. Like I would have been full panic. And like don't get me wrong, I don't feel good. Like I feel like trash. Like it makes me nauseous to like think about this. I'm not even like trying to be
Mhm.
funny. It's literally nauseating to think like what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't even remember what the hell I was going to say. Oh, all right.
You've had time to
Like
process.
I really like felt that way
Mhm.
after the game. I was like, like I don't even care if they like win game 6. Like I kind of want them to lose. I don't want to like have
Mhm.
the false hope and then have them like crap themselves in a game 7, like just end it or whatever. But then I was like I woke up obviously thinking I had dreamt it and then I realized I had not. And then
Pain.
I did the morning scroll on Twitter, which I had avoided after the game. I had no interest in that. And I saw the things guys were saying after the game. And I don't know why. Listen, you're not going to lose a game like that yesterday and like not say these things, I guess. Like you kind of have to say
Are you
everything
talking
that
about
they
what Tatum said?
yeah, like Tate I
Mhm.
to me that's just not characteristic of Tatum
It was
though.
weird. It was very weird.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I don't I mean,
Clarify,
listen,
what did he say? Explain it just in case
yeah,
somebody
I
didn't hear.
guess we should tell listeners that, huh? Once he said like the series isn't over, something like that. If we're on the same page, that's what you were thinking too, right? Or do you say something
Yeah.
else?
No, he said, "There's no point in me coming up here and pouting and being sad." Like, let me find the exact quote. I wrote about it because it was odd. He said, "Sorry, just loading up." I mean, I could come up here and pout, be sad, and I'm sure there would be a big story about how we're defeated and I don't believe in us. Or I could come in like you can't change what happened. It stings for sure, Tatum said. But it's 3-2 and it's first to four, and there's no sense in being sad and putting your head down because that's not going to do anything for next game. Always be optimistic and believe in yourself, believe in the group. And that's fine. Like I understand the mentality, but he was like smiling and like he was joking around earlier into the press conference. It was just very weird vibe. I don't know, man. Like
See,
you can't.
I get a
Yeah.
positive from that because that is weird. It's weird. It's not something you really see from anybody, and it didn't seem
And you heard what
phony.
You heard what Udoka said too, right? He said it'd only make it sweeter when we win, and it was just like,
Oh, that's
all
weird.
right, he made it. Okay,
I didn't see
okay,
that
bro.
one. But
He said, yeah.
I will say just the Tatum one like sticks to me for some reason that is so out of like the Tatum
Hmm.
way of like the way he talks. Like I don't think he's like trying to talk out of his ass or save face. Like he doesn't seem like he's ever been
Yeah.
somebody that cares like about what people are writing about. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
especially like the Boston media. He'll get pissed at Perk once in a
I don't
while.
think he does either. I think he was just joking, but that, like, to me,
I
again,
don't
that's
think
still
he was joking. I think I don't know.
not
If
like
it,
joking in the sense that like kidding in the sense that he was like, "Oh, I bet there'd be a big story." Do you know what I'm saying? Like being sarcastic.
yeah, but I don't know. I think he has some confidence about him that is kind of crazy.
Hopefully, I hope so.
I
And
I know
yeah,
listening to this, if you're like a mess after the game, I mean, I don't feel great about it. I don't. But something about that is like sticking with me.
yeah,
I don't know. It's just so off for him to say that. I feel like these guys are like really driven. I I think they could get rolled. Like it's always possible, but I kind of don't think that's going to happen.
I don't either.
If
I
they
don't either.
lose Friday, which is tomorrow, which will be probably when you're listening to this,
Yes,
it's going to
yes.
be hard.
Mhm.
I don't think they're going to lay down. I hope they don't. After the final whistle last night, after watching it, I did. I was like, this is over. It's obviously the
Yeah, man.
first thought. But now I mean, I'm not expecting it. I'm not putting money on it. By the way, I did take insurance yesterday at the wrong
Did you?
time. Yeah, like I
Oh,
didn't.
what do you
It
mean?
wasn't at 14. Like it was at when the end of the third. They were up 9, so I didn't make as much, but I did make a little money. But I don't
Hey, there
really
you go.
care. I'd gladly pay the money back if they won.
Yeah, it's brutal, man. It was just that's about as I was on FaceTime with Zoe at the end of the game, and this was my state. I won't pan the camera or anything, but I'll describe it for the listeners. So maybe my pain will bring you some joy. I had Zoe on FaceTime, but her stream was like 5 seconds ahead of mine. So when it was getting really close, I said, Zoe, I have to put my headphones on and I have to put you in a place. And so I had this, which is my coffee from yesterday, and I had it in front of her on the phone. So I couldn't see her reactions because half the time she was spoiling it for me and I would just get disappointed or sometimes excited, but not usually. And so I was sitting there like this, just like this, like trying not, if you're on YouTube, you can see, just trying desperately not to pay attention to the phone to have it spoiled. And when
Mm.
when Marcus went up for the shot, and this was before we knew the play was for Tatum or anything, I just go, that can't be the shot, because I saw him get the ball and start driving. I go, this can't be the shot, right? This can't be the shot. This is not the shot. And I go, wow, that's the shot. And then I got mad, and the most mad I got though was on the Portis rebound because like we mentioned, you know how many times I've talked about the offensive rebounding. I
Both
know
of
you have
us.
too, but I
I
know
hate it. It's my
it's
least
bad.
favorite thing.
I threw my headphones on the bed and I just started like you can hear that on the audio. Like I just started slamming this like so angry. 'Cause how do you not grab the rebound? We're not going to get into it. I've moved past. I've moved on to a better mental state now. I've learned that the Celtics cannot determine my outlook on life. I'll let it make me upset for like an hour and then I'll get on with everything.
See, I
But
didn't slam stuff. I just kind of sat there. Like I was like,
mhm,
I like was like, I can't believe that just happened.
it is unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
And I went to
Uh,
bed. I didn't go on. Like I just put my iPad face down and laid there, and then
yep,
eventually went to sleep. Like
bad.
I ignored people's messages. Like I don't want to talk about it. And
I
I
was still up when you went to work. You
yeah, and
texted
Jack
me.
was still awake when I went. I texted you. I was like, I'm miserable, whatever the hell I said.
Mhm.
I
And I
was
sent
like,
you Draymond video to make you feel better.
that was
I mean, that Draymond video was hilarious. Did you actually watch it or did you not watch it?
I saw it. Yeah, I mean, good for him.
I love him.
I
I
like
love
Draymond.
him.
Oh,
Oh
I'm
man.
that is just a disaster. I just can't believe they did that. I was trying to explain it like to people that don't like understand what happened. But like
Mhm.
they watched the game and they were like, "Wow, like I didn't realize like that could happen." And I was like or like something
Uh,
like that
yeah, yeah.
like I was talking to one of my coworkers today and I was like, "I don't think you understand like how bad that is. Like that is like all-time historical collapse. That is unacceptable. You can't give that up in such an important game." By the way,
You
this is
know,
a series that the Celtics could have won already.
yes, yeah, they could have.
They had 2 close games that they dropped.
Mhm.
I'm not really convinced Game 3 was completely their fault. At least down the stretch, I think
Mhm.
they could have
And
won that game.
I want before Sam keeps ranting and we keep ranting, I want to again emphasize, and you don't have to agree with me. I'm not discrediting Milwaukee in any way. They deserve the
No,
win.
no,
They
I'm
deserve
not.
to win all the games that they've won. They've played an amazing series. Both teams have played a great series. Shout out Milwaukee. Shout out Bucks fans. Shout out Giannis. Shout out Drew Holiday, who was incredible. Even shout out Bobby Portis for making that rebound, even though the Celtics kind of gifted it to him for some reason. Like they're making winning plays, and that's what matters at this point in the season. But um, if you're listening as a Bucks fan for some reason, we are just complaining as Celtics fans. We're not taking anything away
I
from
will say
Milwaukee.
this: the Celtics lost that game yesterday.
Yeah, it's like the Westbrook meme.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
that they lost.
they did.
Milwaukee absolutely had to fight back, and they didn't quit. They could have easily quit down 14, but they didn't.
Hmm.
But the Celtics had to do absolutely everything wrong,
Which they
and
did,
they
and
did.
Milwaukee capitalized. So it is. Our my buddy Liam, who we used to do the pod with,
Yes.
he texted me after the Bobby Portis rebound. He goes, I don't know, like just I don't know. And I go, you can't not rebound that. He said, you can't fuck that up either. How? Like how? And then he texted me, Celtics try not to choke challenge brackets impossible.
Yeah,
Just-
it's
it's
true.
just
You
I
I
yeah.
watched. Oh my god, I had a cramp. All right, I'm good. I watched game 4 at work. Well, I watched game 3. No, I watched game 2
Mhm.
and game 4 at work because I was working at night. And our sports director, Nick Coit, who was very great at his job, you should follow him on Twitter if you're from
Shout out
the
Nick.
area. I'd be like, I don't know, Nick. They'd be up,
Mhm.
and I'd be like, listen, I don't know. This is, I can't get comfortable watching a game till it's literally out of reach. Just because of how many times I feel like I've seen them do similar things to what they did yesterday. Not in any kind of manner as disastrous as yesterday, but just we just know it's in the DNA.
I'll put this out there as well. Because you know how much I love to complain about just idiots and just the worst kind of people. Celtics fans are right to be upset because they collapsed. That was a collapse of epic proportions. It's like Sam said at the top of the show. It's like one of the worst, uh, not comebacks, but the opposite of that,
It's
like
the worst,
collapse.
the worst of
It's the
all the
worst.
losses. It's the loss, the worst
The
loss.
people who have been silent for the last 3 months, who came out of the woodworks to say trade Marcus, Marcus sucks, trade this person, trade this.
Mm,
You're the worst. You're
I
you're the worst
agree.
kind of person. I hate the people, and you know who I'm talking about, who just decide to be constantly negative, and even when there are good times, they don't say anything. They
I
choose to be
agree.
miserable. I'll never understand that side of sports media. I had a conversation with my professor in grad school, and we did like a mock interview thing uh, for my internship course. And we did an interview and I did my things. And she goes, "You're really positive for someone who wants to be going into the sports media space." I said, I try to be. Usually she goes, "You're probably not going to have it very easy with the type of people that are out there." And that's just, it's so sad that that's true. Because every like sports media pundit, every like most fans, even especially in Boston, and I've told you how many times I hate Celtics fans, even though I am one. It just, I don't understand why they refuse to be happy. Like they'll always find something to complain about. Hell, Sam Hauser could come in garbage time and brick a layup, and they'd complain about a 30-point win. It doesn't make any sense how they treat the game of basketball. Like after the Celtics lost on Wednesday night, you're going to be listening to this on Friday. It was last night for me. I was upset. Obviously, I told you I was slamming my desk. I was mad because they should have won the game. But it took me about an hour, and I saw that Draymond video you sent me, and it clicked. And maybe this is
I
gonna sound
sent you.
super.
I didn't send it to you. You sent it
I
to me.
sent you. I know the
I
Draymond
didn't
video I
touch
sent
the
you.
iPad after the horn. I said
No,
that's enough
and
with the
this is gonna
internet.
sound very corny, but like I saw that video and it just made me laugh and made me realize how like I just like basketball. Like I just like watching the sport. And yes, it sucks that the Celtics won, but like imagine how like if the Celtics did that to another team, like that'd be elite, right? That was
Well,
such a good
that's
basketball.
basically what game 4 was.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's the beauty of it, right? Like as much as there was no beauty in what the Celtics did on Wednesday night, like basketball is awesome. It's great that that can happen. It's the end of the world when it happens to your team, as we've seen. but there's no point in letting it like affect how you approach life in general. Like, yes, be upset for an hour, sure, complain on Twitter, but don't be irrationally angry. And if you can never be positive, you don't have the right to be negative either. Like that's just
Well,
not a way to live life. And like that's
I'll say
ridiculous.
it to a lesser degree. Um, just don't take it out on other people.
Yes,
Like, you
that
can be
too.
pissed and be heated, and what I do is I really like over dramatize it and I
Mhm.
really milk it. Like, I'll just be dramatic about it, but like
Yeah.
you can't just like be mean to people because the Celtics lost. And to
Yes.
go back to like people being negative on Twitter, I got like a message last night. Like, a friend of mine was just so happy that Marcus was like bad.
That,
Just
like,
he was like
why?
happy
That makes
because
no
he
sense.
finally gets to be right.
Was
They
he joking or
finally
was he
no,
serious?
he was serious. He was
I
like, it
don't
was
like
the
your friend.
first thing he did. Like, he messaged me, and like I was
Mhm.
so mad.
Well,
Like, when
it's
I
just
saw it,
because Marcus has been phenomenal for months. Like, did he message you after he made that pass to Tatum in the Brooklyn series? I bet he didn't. I bet he didn't
yeah,
say
right,
shit. Like,
exactly.
gross. Like, the people like that are my least favorite humans on the planet. And the difference is, if you can have like a nice conversation with me first and like say, oh wow, this is a really great play, and then you can turn around and say, okay, Marcus probably should have done something different. That's different than just being silent until you have a chance to be negative. You will
Yeah.
never be happy. Like, people like that will never be happy, and I feel sorry for you
I
because you're
also
just
just
like a
don't get.
sad human.
I get disliking players and not wanting to see them succeed if they're not on your team. But if
I
they're
don't
on
even
your
get that,
team, I
but
kind of don't get it. Like, I just
I don't
don't
get it
like.
either.
Why are you like happy this guy like had a bad end of the game? Like, it cost the team the game, yeah, but like it doesn't matter. You're all
People
like
like to be
pushing for the
miserable,
same
man.
goal.
People like to be miserable, and I
I'd
don't
be
get it.
more than happy to have somebody I don't think is going to pan out as a player do well for the Celtics.
Yeah, I don't get it. It just
I
makes no sense. It
I
makes no sense.
truly just don't understand the negativity. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, Marcus was real bad down the stretch, but
And
it
I'll go
shouldn't have
back
got
to
to that point, and it didn't really get to
yes.
that point because of him. And up until like the last stretch, he was really good yesterday.
He was really good. His box score is great. I mean, but if you watch the game, he just crumbled in the last couple minutes. He played a good game. He made his shots. He made good passes. He's like, I don't know, man.
They
Just tough.
they need to not panic when things happen, and they went into panic mode.
Yep.
They
Yep.
need to get better
It's
at
just
that. And
it's just bad.
the series is not over. There's a
It's not
game
over.
Friday night.
Mhm.
There could be a game Sunday, but they have to win both of them now, which is
They do.
not easy. They haven't won 2 in a
Not
row
at all.
yet. Should have won yesterday 2 in a row. They did not.
Mhm.
It's just truly unbelievable.
Yeah.
That
I don't
that is
really
like
have
nothing else I've ever seen.
yeah. I don't really have anything else to say. Like, I know we've only been going for 30 minutes, but I'm out of words, man. That would like there's nothing else to say about what happened to the Celtics in game 5 other than be better. Like, you just have to be better in game 6. You have to be better in game 7. What happened happened. We could spend a year analyzing, could have Marcus have made that pass? Yeah, he could have made that pass. Should Al have set the screen sooner? Hell yeah, he should have. Should Tatum have run regardless if he got the screen after he saw the ball was inbounded? Yes. They messed up. The Bucks capitalized. They lost the game. You got to move on. Like that. That's all there is to it at this point.
I will say, and it could be just because of the people I follow. Twitter was pretty
Mhm.
positive compared to what I thought it was gonna. Well,
Really?
we have different timelines. I don't follow as many people or whatever. Actually, I don't know how many people you follow, but compared to what I thought it was going to be, it really wasn't that bad.
I
There was
saw a lot of
decent vibes on the timeline from people that like weren't like when Keith like twits. Jesus Christ, Sam tweets
I saw
like
Keith's quote
people.
tweets and they were bad. I
No,
saw
yeah,
most
yeah.
of them
The
were bad.
people like replying to Keith are bad, but like nobody of any kind of
Yeah.
like
Okay, yes, I know what you're saying now.
stature or any significance was really that down about
Most
it, which
people
is
were saying, "Oh, just gotta get to game 6 now. Get back to Boston." Like,
yeah.
which is what you gotta do, I guess, but
I don't know.
yeah.
I just think the way the season has gone for the Celtics, and
They're
I feel
resilient.
so, I would have told yesterday I would have came
Mhm.
on here if we did one last night, and I would have been completely different. And I'm not over the moon right now. I don't know what it is. I just kind of have a feeling that they're not done yet.
Well, I'm glad we didn't
I
record
hope
last
I'm
night
right.
then. I'm glad we didn't record after the loss.
I would have been on a whole. Jack. I didn't even want to think about basketball yesterday.
I believe
You
you.
have no idea. Like I literally I was trying to sleep and I just kept thinking about it.
I
And I
had to
was
write
like,
about it.
yeah, see, that's one thing I don't miss. I really don't miss
I
that.
wrote 3 articles last night about the game.
I couldn't have done that. That you know what that end of that game reminded me of? Do you remember the game where Rondo made the winner when he was on the Lakers? It's the
Yeah.
same thing.
Yep.
Same thing.
It's
And
bad.
I felt that's probably the last time I felt this way after a game.
And this was the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's the Lakers, so it's always a meaningful game. Like as a fan, you get up for that.
Yeah.
You know that team that year for the Celtics was supposed to be the juggernaut team with all the guys on it, and they were bad.
That
But
reminds me, I don't know if you paid attention to this. Kyrie Irving talked about that
oh
team
yeah,
recently.
but listen, that team.
He talked about he didn't mock Celtics fan. He on his next stream, which I watched. Shout out It's Gear, PJ, if you're listening to this. Shout out you because he told me. He talked about the 2019 Celtics and like Boston. He goes, I can't. Oh God, I wish I could remember the exact quotes, but he was basically like I love Boston, man. Like I loved it. It was amazing. Like
Well,
JT
he
came
would have
in.
stayed. He's
No
full of
one knew.
shit. But
No.
go ahead.
I genuinely. I know you dislike him a lot more than I do, which is fine. But I genuinely enjoyed like listening to the way he presented it, and I still think he's a little bit odd, but I respected the way he spoke, at least on the Twitch stream, because it's like a lot different. He's like, oh, JT was coming in, man. We had killers, man. Like no one knew about JT. I knew about JT. I know he was it. Like he was a beast. JB too. Like he was awesome. Like Marcus Smart, I knew he could do it. We had all the guys, and then he was like that day Gordon got hurt, man. That was like an out of body experience. That was like one of the worst days. And then he talked about the year coming in. He was like, this is the point I was saying. He's like, I loved Boston. I walked up to management. I said, I'm coming back next year. Like, I can't wait. And I looked forward to the day I could sign that contract. And then he was basically like, then my grandpa died. And then I just wanted to be with my family. And everything was like a loop for me that year. And I wish things could have gone different, but everything was off in my head. And yeah, it was like very real. And I know you can still blame him for giving up on the team. That's valid. Like he basically mailed it in. But with his I'll say at the very least, it was an interesting perspective on the situation that we haven't really heard before. So I'll give him credit for being real, at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, everybody's got their own side of the story, but I just think his actions don't say that.
Yeah,
And
no, yeah,
it's not for me. It's not the leaving part. It's quitting on the team when he
I
was
know,
still here.
I know.
And
He also
that to
mentioned
me is inexcusable.
he goes, "Oh man, I wish I could have stayed around a year. I had some plans. I had some people lined up." He basically admitted or hinted that like I had a trade or I
Yeah,
had some
he
signings
was
lined up
gonna
on
have them
Boston.
gut the team and bring in Davis, who would sit there and
Mhm.
the finest of drip and watch the games.
Yeah,
So
man. I don't know.
I'm glad it
Anyways,
didn't happen.
everything
And I
happened
still
for the
think he's
best.
full of it.
If I'm being honest, though, realistically speaking, like love or hate Kyrie, most people hate him. I don't really care about it. Like I don't mind him. Thoroughly enjoyed listening to him speak about it, but everything happened for the best, in my opinion. I'd rather have the core the Celtics have now than Kyrie Irving and then the rest of the guys, in my opinion.
I
So
agree.
I'm happy it happened the way it
I think this
happened.
team is really
It is what it
likable
is.
despite that bombshell of a game yesterday.
I
I
agree.
like the group. Also, I think Derek White needs a shout out too. We didn't really talk about him, but he was really good again yesterday,
Yes.
which is
Yep.
encouraging to see going forward. He's someone
Hey,
that is important. He plays good defense, and seeing him play well offensively is a good thing if you're a fan. And also Tice playing well is good. Obviously, you can't expect him to shoot 100% from the field or whatever he did, but it's nice to see him play confident. And I mean, obviously, defensively, he's not going to give you a whole lot against Giannis, but
yeah.
he did okay for the minutes he had to play. So good for Tice, man. I'm a fan of both those guys. Happy to see them play well. Just before we go, we can kind of be like for Game 6, this is what needs to happen.
Rebound the ball, just please. If you
Yeah,
don't do anything else, just
which
please
I'd
rebound the
have to
ball.
imagine they will talk about that. But I also think Grant needs to be better. And
He does need
you're
to
a
be better.
Grant guy. I think Grant's
No, he
fine.
needs to be
I
better.
like Grant,
He
but
does.
he has not been good since they left Boston. He needs to come out, make his threes, and continue to
Yes.
grind defensively. He really wasn't too bad defensively. He wasn't as great as he initially was, but he's the key to this team. They need him to be dialed in offensively. It makes things more difficult on Milwaukee.
I agree. Yeah, he needs to be better. The whole team needs to be better. The turnovers can't be as much. They were good for the first half of the game, and then they got sloppy, obviously, in the last few minutes, but just in the fourth quarter in general. I'll say what I said again. They can't abandon the three. I didn't like that they took 0. There's got to be a balance, and I know like attack the paint, but clearly something wasn't working. So you got to drive and kick and get open shots. Grant has to be willing to take those. Al needs to get more involved in the offense again because I don't know if Milwaukee targeted him to take him out, but he was just not even like. I know he's not gonna have 30 every game, but it just didn't even look like he was involved at all, which was a problem. So they just need to game plan better. Rebound the basketball. I can't say it enough. Just please get a rebound. And yeah, the offense just needs to hit it. But if there's nothing else you got to say, that's just rebound, stop turning it over, find some sort of consistent offense. And the defense has been amazing the whole series, by the way. Defense yesterday was great outside of the rebounding, right? And that's the problem. You're playing such good defense that you can't afford to be collapsing in almost all other area of the game. So it's eternally frustrating. But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, we can wrap there. I'm sure if you're a fan, you don't really want to be sitting listening to this today. I didn't even really want to listen to it or look at anything today, but here we are. We're recording. And if you are listening, we do appreciate it.
We do.
You know, this is an effort to do or with such heartbreak.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.
Do you want me to wrap here?
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. I'll throw it to Sam.
Yeah. So if you're on YouTube, you're on Guy Boston or Bannertown, you can subscribe and like the videos. You know, I always go on and like the videos, got to show the love. Leave comments if you have stuff to say or you like the job we do. We always see those and appreciate it. If you're on the streaming service, make sure you follow us just in case Jack doesn't tweet the pod until I remind him so you can get it premium access. But if he does tweet it, you can find it at Jack Simone NBA. And you can see me quote tweet it at Samus Fans NBA. It's also
Taco, come on. Taco's having some fun here.